Hi, Renee Kinney here at the Southwood County YMCA. We are going to go through a sun salutation practice today as a way to celebrate summer. But to get started, why don't you go ahead and take a seat down onto your mat, or you could lay onto your back. Get yourself settled, comfortable, and situated, and then shut down your eyes. Notice the rhythm and the pace of your natural breath right now. Notice how your breath makes your body shift, sway, or just move a little bit as you breathe in and out. The sun salutations are a way to celebrate and show gratitude for the sun and nature and the energy that it gives to our bodies and the rest of the world around us. Take a moment to set an intention for your practice. It can even be just gratitude, energy, or the sun. But the purpose of an intention is to give you focus, to give you reason, to remind you when you get distracted of why you are here today. Through your nose, take in a deep breath. Open your mouth and let it out. Bring your chin down to your chest and rock your head from side to side. Lift your chin up to the ceiling, roll your shoulders back, and take a couple deep breaths across your chest, all the way down the front part of your belly to your belly button. And bring yourself into tabletop position, onto your hands and knees. Just going to warm up a little bit before we get into the sun salutations. So first, cow pose, where you drop down in your belly, lift up your gaze, and cat. Look underneath yourself, push your hands into the ground. Take both of these poses a few times. Meet in downward dog with your hands and your feet on the mat, and then lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Tuck in your chin and look for your belly button again. Here in down dog, you can move your knees in and out together or opposite. You can also try twisting and stretching, reaching back for your opposite foot. Just take a few more breaths to get your body nice and warmed up. We're going to meet at a standing forward fold. Put your weight into your feet. Allow your head and your upper body to sway and dangle. You could also try ragdoll, where you grab opposite elbows or biceps. Either way, allow your head to get heavy so that your spine can stay long, And take a few big breaths here. Bring yourself all the way up to a standing position. So we are going to get started with the sun salutations. The first pose in the sun salutation is mountain pose. So you'll start strong in mountain. Push into your feet, engage the fronts of your legs, the backs of your legs, all the way up into your knees and your thighs. Pull your belly button in and your ribs in to keep your core strong. Reach out long through your arms and the top of your head, but find a way to relax your shoulders away from your ears. As we move through this first sun salutation, I'm going to take the time to break down each pose. But then as we start moving through, I'll just call out the pose and we'll move from pose to pose. Take another breath or two in your mountain. Think tall and strong, yet really sturdy and connected to the ground. Reach higher, taking a big breath. Fold forward as you exhale. The forward fold is the next pose in our sun salutation. In your fold, you want to have your weight in your feet, allow your head to hang down heavy. And the idea here is you're trying to press your heart down into the ground. Take a few big breaths. Allow your body to memorize what the fold feels like. Halfway lift is our next pose. And in this one, you have lots of options. First option is to bring your hands up to your shins or your thighs so that your spine can stay out long and you're pressing forward with your heart. Another option would be to have blocks and have your hands on your blocks. Still trying to push forward through your heart. And another option would be to bend into your knees, have your hands on the ground, and keep your chest up, heart out. And that's going to keep your spine nice and long. Hold here for a couple of big breaths. The next part of the salutation you'll hear called chaturanga, but we're going to break this one down a little bit. So you're going to start in a plank pose, and then chaturanga is this movement where you're lowering down halfway. This is chaturanga. We're not going to hold this one super long. But let's practice that again. Come up high into your plank, shift forward like you're trying to look over a cliff. And then you lower down halfway. Once your ribs come in line with your elbows, that's as far as you have to go. And then up into the next pose, which is a back bend, upward dog or cobra, whatever feels better in your spine. Again, let's practice that chaturanga. Come into your high plank, shift, and lower. One more time. High plank, shift, and lower. Then lower all the way down to the ground. The next part is called a back bend, and there's lots of options. Cobra is where your hands are on the ground, your elbows are tucked back nice and tight to your ribs. You can come up to a Sphinx pose with your forearms on the ground, elbows underneath your shoulders. An upward dog with the tops of your feet on the ground, your hands on the mat, and the rest of your body is up in the air. pick one of those bends and hold for a few breaths. Next, we move into a downward dog. We came here already to get warmed up. So you're just gonna flip your feet over, push into your hands, and lift your hips up high to the ceiling. Take a few breaths. And it's okay if your heels aren't touching the ground. They may never. The idea is that you have the action of pushing your heels down to keep your legs long and straight. Now the rest of the poses in the sequence we've already done, so we're not going to hold them quite as long. From downward dog, you're going to rise up onto your toes, make your way forward into your fold. Take a halfway lift, fold back down. Mountain, reach up. Bring your hands down to your heart and just spend a few breaths here. Remind yourself of that intention, or take a moment to be thankful for the sun. As we move through the rest of the sun salutations, we are just going to go a little bit faster, and then see if you can try and link your breath up with each movement. So when we go into mountain, you're going to take a breath in and fold. You're going to breathe out. Next pose, breath in. Next pose, breath out. I will cue that a little bit, but it may become natural and you won't need the cue. And even if it doesn't become natural, it's okay. It doesn't have to happen that way to be perfect. Nothing's perfect in yoga. Find a sturdy spot on your mat. We're going to start in mountain. Reach up, fold forward. Halfway lift, chaturanga. Come into that high plank, shift and lower. Back bend. Downward dog. Lift onto your toes and make your way forward. Halfway lift, fold, mountain. Bring your hands to your heart. Mountain. Fold. Halfway lift. Chaturanga. Back bend. Downward dog. Raise to your toes and come forward. Halfway lift. Fold. Mountain. Hands to heart center. Mountain. Fold. Halfway lift. Chaturanga. Back bend. Downward dog. And right away to the top. Halfway lift. Fold. Mountain. Hands to your heart. Again, mountain, reach up. Fold forward, lead with your heart. Halfway lift. Chaturanga. Back bend, taking a huge breath. Downward dog as you let it out. Together to your toes, jump forward. Halfway lift. Fold. Mountain. Hands to your heart. Take a moment. Gather your breath, your thoughts. We'll cycle through one more time. Mountain pose. Fold forward. Halfway lift. Chaturanga. Back bend. Downward dog. Make your way forward. Halfway lift. Fold. Mountain. Hands to your heart. Stay in your mountain pose. Shift your weight over into your right foot and just come onto the toes of your left. Challenge yourself to bring your knee all the way up to your chest. Set it back into the ground. As soon as it touches, lift your other foot up. Set it down. First side, bring your knee back up. Press it into the ground. Second side. Mountain pose, both feet down, reach up high. Fold forward. Halfway lift. Chaturanga. Back bend. Downward dog. This time in downward dog, take your right foot up towards the ceiling and then curl around your toes, shake out your ankle, try making some circles with your hip. Set that foot down, take your other one up, same thing, shake it out, stretch. Set it back down. Walk your hands back to your feet and then spread your feet out on the mat, about mat's distance or even a little wider. We're going to add in a twist here. Keep your right hand on the ground and lift your left hand up. Release that hand down, push it into the mat, twist with your opposite. Release that hand down. Yogi squat. So you're going to drop your hips down towards your heels, bring your hands up to your heart, and use your elbows to press your knees wider apart. Take a few deep breaths here. Allow your weight to sink down into your heels and your hips. You can also rock side to side. We'll add in a twist here. Put your right hand down to the ground, reach up with your left. Switch, opposite hand, push into the ground, reach your other one up high. Release, come into tabletop, onto your hands and knees. Take cow and cat where we had first started. Push your hands into the ground and move from your chest, your heart area. We're going to come into a lizard pose or a low lunge. You're going to step your right foot outside of your right pinky finger. And here's where blocks might come in handy, just to bring the ground up a little bit higher. And once you get settled into that lunge, it's your choice if you want to stay still and push yourself through, or if you want to rock side to side or front to back. just to get a little more range of motion into that hip area. We're going to add a twist in for this pose as well. Take your same foot that's forward, you're going to take that hand up towards the ceiling. If you're feeling extra flexy today, try reaching towards your back foot. Come out with control. You're going to switch back to a high plank just so we can bring the other foot forward. Position it outside of your hands. Decide if or if not you need a block on this side. Keep your breath moving. Add in the twist, taking your inside arm up to the ceiling. And see what happens on this side if you lift up that back foot and reach for your toes. With control, let your foot back down to the ground, bring your hand forward, and then we're going to come down to a seat or lie down all the way to your backs. Just get comfortable. Take a moment to observe your breath again. How's it changed from when you first got started? Check in with your body, your temperature, or just if you're feeling stretched out or stressed out. It's not that either one is right or wrong. You're just being aware of how you're feeling right now. Focus at your heart. Imagine that deep behind your heart, there is a small little sun. And every time you breathe in, you can see that sun get bigger, glowing brighter. And when you exhale, it just dims back down to that bright little light right behind your heart. Use your breath to expand on your inhale and expand the aura of that light. For your next few breaths, every time you breathe in, I want you to picture that light glowing out beyond the limits of your body. But when you exhale, bring it back in to just a small, bright light behind your heart. Use your breath and expand that light even brighter, even further, feet past your body, and maybe even starting to glow the whole area of the room you're in. But every time you exhale, take the time to bring it back into yourself, into that small light behind your heart. Use your breath to expand that light even further. When you breathe in, send it out past the city limits, or imagine that you're looking from a satellite and you can just see this light glowing out from where you are. But every time you exhale, take that time to bring it back into yourself behind your heart. This light represents love, peace, kindness, if there's someone specifically in your life that could use a little more of those things, picture them and then breathe in, send them the light. But when you exhale, bring it back to yourself behind your heart. Over your next few breaths, still take in those full inhales, but keep the light just within your room or in your body. On the exhales, still bring it down into that little spark behind your heart. Bring your hands together at your heart, bow your head to yourself. Remind yourself of that intention you set earlier when you got started today. And remind yourself of all of the love and peace and kindness that is within you. And just remember, you might have to focus every now and then to be able to spread it out a little more. Through your nose, take in a deep breath. Open your mouth and let it out. Namaste.